Hi, I'm Candace Einsbar with Colorado Fast Pitch Academy. Today I will be discussing the drop third strike rule. One of the issues that I struggle with my catchers is knowing the drop third strike rule, which can come into effect as early as 10U competitive ball. The biggest issue that I run into is not that people don't understand that on a drop third strike you can run to first base, but there is actually more to it than that. And knowing this rule can literally determine whether or not you win or lose a game. On more than one occasion, because I have taught my catchers how to handle the drop third strike rule, they have even corrected an umpire and ended up actually getting an out as a result of reminding the umpire of the actual rule. Let's start with the rule itself. Drop third strike means that if a catcher catches a ball and then drops it, it is considered a drop third strike. However, that is not the only way that a ball is considered drop third strike. If the ball hits the ground before the catcher catches it, and it's called a strike, perhaps because the person still swung, it is still considered a drop third strike, even though the catcher didn't actually drop it, because it made contact with the ground. Once a drop third strike has occurred, the next thing is to know what exactly is going to happen on the field. The rule says that on drop third strike, if first base is occupied and there is less than 2 outs, the runner up to bat is actually out. Now, a lot of people don't realize that. They think that that girl not only can run to first base, but that if she makes it there in time, she'll be safe and get to continue to stay on the base. That is not true. Now, ultimately, she is allowed to run. No one says she can't make that attempt. It's called drawing the throw. A coach will often tell their hitters, if the ball is dropped on third strike, always run. I would do the same thing, because even if it is a situation where the girl is already out, I distract the catcher, get her to throw the ball to first base, and then anybody else on second or third or first ultimately can run to the next base while the catcher's distracted, busy trying to get a girl out who already is out. If first base is not occupied, it doesn't matter how many outs there are, the girl up to bat can in fact run to first base and must be thrown or tagged out. If first base is occupied and there are 2 outs, she can also run. So the only time it matters if someone is on first base is if it's less than 2 outs. Once there's 2 outs, it doesn't matter if someone's on first or not, she can always run. So basically, generally speaking, most of the time, if there are 2 outs, you are going to make the play to first base to get that third out, whether you tag the girl or you throw the ball to first base. There is an exception. If the bases are loaded and there's 2 outs, the smarter move is to step on home. Since the girl up to bat can in fact run to first base, and it's not just that she can, she actually has to. Therefore, the girl on first must run to second, the girl on second must run to third, and the girl on third must run home. She is forced out. By simply stepping on home, you'll get that out. It is a smarter play because when you throw the ball to first base, there's a chance the first baseman might not catch it. It might not be a good throw. It might be late. You step on home, there's no chance of that. So in that case where there's 2 outs and the bases are loaded, the smart move is to step on home. In pretty much any other case, if there are 2 outs, always make the play to first. This is where things get complicated when we get to when there is less than 2 outs. If there is a runner on first base, as I have already said, the girl up to bat is out. So throwing it to first base or attempting to tag her is a waste of time and a waste of a play. If the girl on first, who is occupying first base, causing the girl up to bat to automatically be out, runs to second, by being distracted by the girl up to bat and throwing the ball to first base, you are making the mistake of allowing that girl on first to now get to second freely, when you could be attempting to get her out. So, if you know that there are less than 2 outs and first base is occupied, the smart move, if you do happen to drop it or let it slip a little bit, is to pick it up and immediately throw it to second base to get that girl out instead. If there is a runner on first and second, then if those girls are both running, and the girl up to bat is also running, again, the girl up to bat is out because first base is occupied, so the smart play is going to be to go to third base. But this is where things get tricky. If there's less than 2 outs and first base is not occupied, the girl up to bat can run. So let's say, for example, there's a runner on second base. Nobody on first, nobody on third. Drop third strike happens, there's 1 out. The girl up to bat runs to first base. A lot of catchers will make the mistake of then trying to get the girl who's on second, who may be running to third at this time. There's no force. There's no girl on first. There's no force for her to run because there's only 1 out. So the girl on third is going to have to make a tag attempt. which is a more difficult play. Not to mention that the girl on second got to lead off as soon as the pitcher let go of the ball. So now that girl has a lot less to run. She doesn't have to run nearly as far as the girl up to bat. Girl up to bat can't lead till the ball is called drop third strike. Girl up to bat has a lot further to run, and ultimately it is a force out. So it is the smarter play. Allowing that girl to go from second to third is not the end of the world because you're not giving her home plate. However, things again can get more complicated when all of a sudden there's a girl on third. If there's a girl on third and first, and there is less than two outs, there's 1 out or 0 outs, you can simply hold the ball. That way the girl on third stays at third, the girl up to bat can run to first base all she wants to, but she's already out. If the girl on first runs to second, that's fine, we'll let her go, because we're not going to take the chance on getting that girl at third to home. But if there's 2 outs and there's a runner on first and third, you'll want to make that play, because as I said, in all cases where there's 2 outs, you'll be making your play to first base. Let's say there's nobody on first. Let's say they're just on third. In that case, if there is less than 2 outs, or even if there is 2 outs, there's nobody on first base. The girl up to bat can run, and she will. And when that girl on third starts to run home, what are you going to do? Most coaches are going to tell you to hold the ball. If you trust yourself as a catcher and you have that good arm, here is what I recommend that you do. Look the runner back on third, and then throw the ball to first base. You want to look the runner back and make sure she stops moving. I have had more than once where people have told me that they looked the person back, but then they still went to first. They didn't even process the fact that the girl on third never stopped running. She has to stop. Make sure she sees you looking at her. Make sure you make a real full attempt to get her to stop moving. Because if she doesn't stop, you will not have time to get her out. But if you get her to stop moving, make a clean throw to first, the first baseman can make that play back to you at home in time to get that girl before she scores. So the smart move, if there is someone on third base and less than 2 outs, and you have a drop third strike situation, you will look the girl back on third, and then make the throw to first, and then have the first baseman throw it back to you before that girl on third has a chance to score. There are a lot of different scenarios. The bases are loaded, and there's 1 out. Nothing has to happen because the person up to bat is out, and nobody's going to run. What if there's someone on second and third, but there's no one on first, and there's less than 2 outs? What if there is 2 outs and there's a runner on third? Sometimes people get distracted by the fact that there's a runner on third. They forget the fact that there's 2 outs. All they got to do is throw it to first. They don't even have to look the runner back. You need to practice the drop third strike rule because if you are not familiar with it, it can cost you. And on more than one occasion, as I said earlier in this video, I have had a catcher correct the umpire. Don't be afraid to do that. Do it politely, but if there is a girl on first base and there is less than 2 outs and a drop third strike occurs and the girl runs to first base and then stays there, don't be afraid to turn to the umpire and say, hey, isn't that girl out? The umpire will probably say, you dropped the ball. But then you remind him, but first base was occupied. Believe it or not, in every scenario that I've ever had where the catcher corrected the umpire, they were all like, oh yeah, and then they called the girl out. Don't be afraid to speak up. Make sure you're polite about it. There's a lot more to this rule, and I'm more than happy to help answer any questions you might have. You can refer to my website, www.softballlessons.com, for more information.